Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Again, we're in the middle of June. It's not that far to football season, and that will be a dominant topic today is what happened on Wednesday. Chris Harry is going to join us today to talk basketball. Not baseball, because he's not a big baseball guy, but he's going to talk about basketball and all the stuff that Todd Golden's been doing, which has been amazing. You know, I hinted that we might have a great guest, and we do. I love Chris. I love talking to him. Nobody knows more about and is more honest about Gator basketball than he is. But I thought we were going to get Todd Golden. I gave them the wrong day, and so we're going to get him eventually. I promise me Todd Golden will be on the podcast, and look forward to that. One day we may actually get the great Billy Napier. I don't know. Who knows? I have asked, but you got to know when. Like the summer is when you can get guys like that. And then, of course, Tuesday, Coach Spurrier will be back in here, and we'll talk to him, which will be the Wednesday show. We're going to get through the summer with the way we're doing things, and then we're going to, in August probably, my plan and my goal is to go to Monday, Thursday live, but doesn't mean we will. There's a long way to go with that. And then again, just so you guys know, a week from now, no show. I'm going to the beach, getting away from things, other stuff going on. I was here at Coach Spurrier's restaurant last night, Wednesday night. Today's Thursday for Friday. I get confused about that. But, man, it was hopping. And I'm talking about coaches were everywhere. Coaches trying to recruit other coaches, to get maybe a new pitching coach. You know what I'm talking about. Maybe there was a coach here just for their family. Maybe there was a coach here recruiting heavily. And that would have been the basketball coach. And then the football coach this weekend is going to dominate. That's going to dominate this place. But it was just fun to be around it again. It's always great to come out here. All right, let's get to our starting five, and we will do that right now. And number one was the schedule reveal, which was Wednesday night. I took kind of the whole day, and then I wrote something for Gators Wire on my 12 thoughts about it. But I'll give you a couple of them here. It goes a little bit more in depth on Gators Wire. The number one thought I had is, as I'm looking at it, like the immediate thing you do is you pick out, I think they got it about as fair as they could get it. They'd used a formula where it was winning percentage, I think, over the last 5 years. And then they took 4 from the top winning percentage, 4 from the bottom, which, again, there's some of that can be subjective still, but again, I think they came up with a really good schedule. The good news for Florida, and I was curious about this, and Florida plays every other year. They play 3 home SEC games, and then they play FSU at home. So there's their 4 big games, and then whatever they schedule in the non-con other than FSU. But every year they play, because of Jacksonville, they play 3 every other year. 3 SEC games, and then the next year they play 4 SEC games. Well, this is a year where they play 4, but the league gave them 4 again. So they're playing 4, 3, and 1. So maybe everybody in the league office is out to help Florida instead of get Florida. Anyway, it's a small break. I'm just saying they caught a little break there. Because I know that going into this schedule, adding Texas and Oklahoma, you certainly didn't want to go 3-4-1, have to go to Texas, which they're going to Texas, which is going to be great. That is the game that I think my wife was excited to see was coming up. And I said, they were going to play Texas anyway. Yeah, but now it's in just a year and a half. So I thought they did a good, but look, they'll have no trouble selling tickets. Florida won't. It is going to be, when you think about it, you're going to have Texas A&M and God, I blanked out on who they're playing at home. But you got a full schedule. You got and not only that, but you have Miami and UCF coming here. You got to go to FSU. You got to go on the road for obviously to play Texas. I think Tennessee's here that year too. So they'll have no trouble selling tickets. Let's put it that way. Number two is when I look at these schedules, one thing I was really interested in was, okay, they said we're doing away with divisions. That was no big surprise, but man, they did away with divisions because Alabama, I think 5 of their 8 conference games are against teams from the old East, which they're probably going, we'll take that. Unfortunately, Georgia is one of them and Tennessee's another, so they still got a tough schedule. And look, that's the bottom line. There are no easy schedules here. Nobody's got an easy schedule. And you can argue whether teams have a hard one or an easy one, but they're all really tough schedules because you're in the SEC. And I will say this, though. They finally seem to have made it an equitable schedule. Now, that said, I get to number 3, which is Georgia still not going to Texas A&M. I don't know if they ever will. But I do want to say this, too, about the whole schedule reveal. And we took a long time for it to happen because we didn't know if it was going to be 8 or 9 teams. And it's going to be 9 next year, in 2 years. I think I've told you guys that a million times, and I believe that it's going to be 9. And there'll be a whole nother big story, which is fine. That's how the NFL is king. The NFL is king because they go, we don't have anything going on in May. Let's make something happen in May. What about June? OTAs. We'll make OTAs, and everybody will be talking about it. And they're brilliant when it comes to this. So, but that'll happen again next year. But the fact that Oklahoma and Texas play everybody in the league. I mean, they don't play everybody in the league, each one of them, but they play everybody. Everybody in the league plays them, is what I should be saying. And then I'm sure next year will be kind of the same thing to kind of get them going in the league. The other thing is, as much as we wanted to hang on to those divisions, forget it, man. That is over with. If you want to, and it's going to be weird. To me, it's going to be weird to have a schedule for Florida that doesn't include South Carolina, and this year South Carolina, Missouri, and Vanderbilt. And then I start thinking about it. The only one that's weird is Vanderbilt. South Carolina and Missouri are latecomers to this league. It's not like you didn't think that could go away at some point. And again, it's going to come back. That's the thing everybody has to remember. This is a one-year deal. They're going to go to 9 games next year, or maybe the year after that. But they're going to go to 9 games eventually. The ESPN is going to want more content once they get money behind them again. But when they go to that, the game, it feels like we have a structure now where they're going to make the schedules equitable. So you're going to play these games. Like, for example, Texas A&M, everybody's going, oh, it's finally back after all these years when Texas A&M joined the SEC. It was a decade ago, a little more than a decade ago. Yeah, but it may not be there next year because Texas and Oklahoma are the permanents. And, I mean, the following year, I should say. That's the thing. When I saw these schedules and I saw who's playing who, I just want next year to be here. Oh, I'm ready for it. Let's get rid of this year. This is going to be a better year. It's going to be a lot of fun. Number 4, and I can't. You're sitting there going, I can't believe Dooley hasn't talked about Gator baseball yet. But let's face it, by the time you're listening to this, you're probably getting ready for the game, or you may be listening to it after the game. So I put it down the list, and I think the more intriguing story was the football schedule. But look, we know what's at stake here. Florida playing Virginia. It's going to be Virginia is a very, very good team. Look, they won 50 games. Florida won 50 games. They've got pretty good pitching. Florida's got pretty good pitching. I don't want to say extraordinary pitching. It was extraordinary in the last in the postseason. I hope it continues. But for the year, I would say it was good pitching. It wasn't great pitching. It wasn't a dominant pitching. Florida can really hit. So can Virginia. Virginia, how about this? These stats I looked up today. Kyle Teal, these are everyday players, hitting 418. That's softball averages. Griff Farrell, 398. They have 6 players hitting 331 or better, and as a team they're hitting 335. Their team ERA is 3.77. Connell Early, I can't read that my writing here. That's 12 wins. My point is they're really good. They've been a good program for a long time, and I this is kind of a toss-up game to me, like a lot of them have been. I thought the Florida-South Carolina series was a toss-up series. I had no idea who was going to. I couldn't have sat there and go, Gators are going to win. There's no question about it. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens there with Florida and Virginia. And again, we'll talk a lot about that obviously in the Wednesday show when we know what's going on. But that's going to be another interesting dynamic because I know how it goes out there at the College World Series. Rain. There's a lot of rain. Jeff and I were talking about the year that Florida was playing the night game, the last game. I think it was their second game. It might have been their first game against Vanderbilt. And it was like the 4th inning, and they made us literally leave the press room or the press box and go down to like a basement. That's how there was a tornado coming through. That's 2 times I had that happen. I had it happen in Oklahoma City too. Kind of near each other. Not really. Anyway, it's just an interesting dynamic, so you never know whether rain games are going to get delayed. You never know if you win, lose, and we'll talk more about it going forward. But look, this Florida team, both these teams have 50 wins. Should tell you they're both pretty good. I mean, look, the SEC is a better conference, but does that have anything to do with when they show up there? So I got a good, by the way, a good Leonardo's quick picks for you a little bit later in the show as well. We got to get to number 5, which is on the starting lineup, which is, or starting 5, which is just kind of the malaise that is hovering over sports talk radio. And it's not, believe me, our show is got a problem too. We at least have Gator baseball. We at least were able to talk a lot about Florida golf. We at least were able to talk about Florida track. Now these guys, though, man, they got no basketball to talk about. OTAs, they're not running the needle. Maybe sports talk radio should just take a month off. Just a month off, all of us. I'll be happy to do it. How about that? I won't do it anymore. How about that? But so when I turn on some of these shows, it's like, the favorite milkshake I ever had was, I'm like, I wanted to know what you thought of Florida, Virginia. Or I'll turn it on and they'll say, here's the 5 best songs by Tina Turner. Okay. That's a great show, but about Tina Turner, but not on Sports Talk. But this is talking season, man. And when it's talking season, you can talk about anything. I just did. How about that? All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. The great Chris Harry will join us. Always love talking to him from FloridaGators.com. And we'll talk about what Coach Golden is putting together, which is really kind of like one from here. It's like being at a Oriental restaurant where you're like 1 from column A, 2 from column B. We'll see. Maybe he'll have a better feel for what's going on. I will say this, and I may say this to Chris, and Chris certainly has no dog in the hunt here. There are times when I go, man, this team looks great on paper. And then you put the paper down on the court and it doesn't work out. We saw that last year. They thought that was going to be a really good team. But I do think Todd Golden, his second year, a lot of things start to work out for him, and I think it's going to be great. And meanwhile, Florida continues to do well in football recruiting, which I should have mentioned too. We'll see where all that goes. Like I said, I think this weekend is a big recruiting weekend Another big recruiting weekend for Florida, so we'll see how they do. All right, we got a lot of things coming up, including Yes, No, Where, maybe with Chris Harry, Hesser and Kipke's 3 things, Adam's Ribco Gator of the Week, Leonardo's Quick Picks, got a good one for you here, this, that, and the other, Ben Eige, Odell Realty, Games of the Weekend. We've got a strong suggestion for you. And Pat Dooley's Storytime. We'll be back with more here on another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam's Ribco To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Ribco To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. It's a great pleasure on our Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line. Did I mention enough advertisers there, Chris Harry? Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com joins us, the czar of college basketball as far as I'm concerned.
I don't know about college basketball, but you can call me the czar of Gator basketball, because
you don't have a lot of
man, you got some NIL deals if you got all these sponsors everywhere. I'm looking at all this like Steve Spurrier, Monday, Gator Law, Weaver Productions. I mean, goodness gracious. Good for you, man.
Yeah, in fact, I'm thinking of getting a portal if they don't give me a better deal. So I may have to do that.
That I am definitely well aware of portal action, for sure.
Yeah, well, you are, because there's been a lot of it, and it feels like it's just been this. And again, Chris, think about in the old days, and I go back to like the 2001 SEC tournament, and they would give you those scorecards, right? And one side would be the two teams that were playing, the other side would be the two teams that were playing next. And I would go over them and run through them and see who was leaving and who was going to be back and everything. And now, just throw that away. That's doing you no good. You have no idea what a team's going to look like next year.
No, and every year we would do our end of year stories and say this person's back, this person. Now it's this person's probably leaving, this person's probably leaving, this person's probably leaving, and you don't have any idea who's coming in at that point. Obviously, the developments occur organically. You start hearing names. And lo and behold, for Florida this off season, it's another 6 transfers. I I do think. It was going to happen. Obviously, when Todd came in last year and to take over from Mike White, there was going to be transition, and there clearly was. What I think makes this different is because Todd Golden went through a learning curve season. His staff went through a learning curve season, and they realized what they want to do. I mean, you remember you were at the press conference back in the fall where, Todd Golden said, based on what he had seen from the team he inherited, he wanted a better three-point shooting team, a better offensive rebounding team, defensive rebounding team, and to be better with turnover margin. They were a bad three-point shooting team, one of the worst rebounding teams in the country, and they were good taking care of the basketball. So now he had a baseline. Now he knows he had to go what he made last year. Now he had to fix it, and they believe they've taken some steps to be a better team. And just going out there and seeing these guys run around a little bit like initially right now, they look better. But I'm not diving in on anything. I've been through this too many times. I remember thinking the 2015 team was going to be really, really good. Just seeing some things based on early summer. I thought 2020 was going to be really, really good. I thought it was one of the most talented teams I'd seen in that Florida practice facility. I'm not putting my eggs in any bucket right now. So I do think they're better. Let's see how they mesh, because chemistry, obviously, when you're dealing with all these new guys, is going to be paramount.
It is. Remember the Blackshear season,
That's right. That's what I said, the 20 team. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
2020, I mean, we all were just like, oh, man, Florida could be in the Final Four this year, and I don't think they made it.
That team had Trey Mann. That team had Andrew Nemhard. That team had Kerry Blackshear. That team had Scotty Lewis. They had Noah Locke. They had Keontae Johnson. I mean, that was a damn good basketball team. Now, obviously, COVID killed it. We never knew what was going to happen, but we also know that the last game of that season was a 18-point blown lead with 12 minutes to go against Kentucky. That's how we were left with that team. So, again, we can talk about these guys. They've rebuilt the front court. They're two best offensive players after Colin Castleton returned. So there's some stuff to work with initially.
Well, and I think that's what college basketball, or every sport really now, is how do you bring in these, I don't want to say misfit toys, but different pieces from different places and push them all together and shove them up into one cohesive unit. It doesn't happen overnight. You got guys with NIL deals. You got guys who didn't get NIL deals. You got all kinds of stuff going on. And I'm with you, Chris. I mean, everything I hear sounds great, but I want to see it.
That's right.
On the court in big games.
That's right, of course. And we won't. But what we do know is they have a 7-1 center who, with 3 years remaining. Of course, he could leave again, but I mean, he will have to sit out. But I mean, he's got 3 years. So the Gators think they have Micah hand locked in by way of Marshall. 7-1, really good rim protector. I'm really impressed with how he runs. I was trying. So
he's on campus now.
Oh yeah, he's on campus now. All these guys that I'm about to talk about, with the exception of one, unless I haven't been over there today, and unless one of these guys has come in. But the bigs, I'm talking about Micah Hand logged in from Marshall. Excuse me. The next we got Tyree Samuel from Seton Hall. He's on campus now. He's a grad transfer, and EJ Jarvis, another grad transfer from Yale, are all on campus, all shooting, all in the gym, doing their deal. Those guys are going to be the core of the team. Now it's going to be a two bigs, three perimeter guys generated thing. I don't think they're going to play three bigs very often, if ever. So you're going to have those three guys interchangeable. Now they also have a couple true freshmen. I'm sorry, I'm a little.
Everybody's having some sinuses.
Thomas Hawk is a freshman from Pennsylvania, and then they got an Australian kid, Alex Condon, another 7-footer. So those are their so-called bigs. Now I think Hal can play a 3-4 kind of position, but again, those are freshmen. Let's just leave them out of the equation for now, because in Hand-Lockton, like I said, you have a pretty athletic 7'1" guy, really good rim protector. I think he was the top 25 in the country last year in blocking shots. That's good because Colin Castleton, I think, was in the top 10 last year in terms of percentage of blocking shots. I mentioned Tyree Samuel from Seton Hall. He's a grown-ass man, I would say. I mean, I'm talking about he's 6'9" and a half, 235, 240. Just these guys look different than these freshmen that came on campus a week before. You got EJ Jarvis, a kid from Washington, D.C., played 4 years at Yale. You know he's going to be a high IQ player. But these guys fit what Todd Golden wants to do, and that's talking about a 3-out offense, a lot of pick and rolls, a lot of Princeton kind of concepts, rim running, duck ins, and stuff like that. Now, I mentioned the big guys. Now let's talk about what you got. Obviously, you got Riley Kugel coming back, who just had a phenomenal last 6 weeks of the season, especially in the SEC. Some people were worried about Riley Kugel going pro. I was never that worried about it, actually, and I don't know how really worried the coaches were. You know, they had to recruit him. It's kind of like Colin Castleton last year. That was a surprise that he came back. I think Kugel's best. I mean, Kugel wasn't on any draft boards. You know, he could have gone and done. He didn't even go and do the NBA process. He stayed here and trained. Good for him. Will Richard is back. Now, he is a guy I think he needed to shoot the ball more last season because statistically he was one of the most offensively efficient players in the whole Southeastern Conference. I mean, it's his high, over 40% three-point shooter, over 50% field goal guy, over 85% free throw shooter. Now you got he and Kugel. Now you add Walter Clayton Jr., kid from Iona, who they very much coveted at his second he stepped into the transfer portal. And to be able to pull that guy, you had to sell him. Now it was good. It was easier because he's from Florida, but you had to sell him for walking away from Rick Pitino at St. John's. So it wasn't like, oh, come play at a higher level here, because you go with Pitino to St. John's and you're playing in the Big East. But they got Walter Clayton Jr. here. This is a tough kid, kind of fiery, and he's going to be he's going to do some ball handling. But the other guy who they just got last week, I'm sure you knew about, or the last person that you probably heard about, was Zion Poland. Was a late addition kind of guy. He was in the NBA process, not the underclassmen process, but the evaluation process. Pulled out late and got it, and was already in the transfer portal. And he had Gonzaga after him. He had LSU after him. He had Xavier after him. He had some very, very good teams after him. And the Gators got him all the way from UC Riverside. So I would anticipate a look right now of Zion Pullen as he's more of a conventional point guard than any of the guys I mentioned before. But I would say Zion Pullen and Walter Clayton will be doing the majority of the ball handling. You're going to have probably Riley Kugel as your first guy at the 3 position, and Will Richard coming in and bouncing around, and those 4 guys sharing 20, 25 minutes, 27 minutes at those 3 position perimeter slots.
As you know, Chris, Arkansas, Alabama, and Kentucky did not quit recruiting. So it's still going to be a brutal league. It's going to be a tough league every night. And of course, in a year from now, we add in Oklahoma and Texas, and it's going to be tough. So you've got to almost stay at a really elite recruiting level just to be competitive. Let's mention you mentioned Kentucky. Now they got 8 guys on their team right now, and 4 of them are freshmen. They got like number 1 or number 2 recruiting class that you're talking about. But what's your trail? You want these 4 freshmen? They're good. Obviously, they're going to be good. And you have 4 guys. You only have 8 guys on your team right now, and you don't need more than that to play a game. But you do need more than that to practice. Versus Florida's got a bunch of players who played a lot of college basketball. Now we've seen that before. But we're not. But these guys are. They're coming from some successful teams. Marshall won 24 games last year. Excuse me. Walter Clayton was in the NCAA tournament. They're actually leading UConn at the half, I believe. They're the only team that was beating UConn at the half during the NCAA tournament. Who else are you talking about? Tyree Samuel. They were 17 and 16. They weren't great. The Zion Pullen played on a team that
that finished third in the West Coast Conference last year. I think they won 20-some games or something. So it's not like when Brandon McKissick showed up and he won 12 games. I liked Flanders Fleming a lot, and he had some moments for the Gators.
Yeah,
his team was 3-24. The team that he was first team all league. Now these guys have experienced success on the floor as a team success. So hopefully that'll. And Yale I mentioned was another good team last season. Beat Princeton a couple times, and Princeton went to the Sweet 16. So these are boxes that maybe we haven't checked in the past around here in terms of these transfers, guys.
Well, and I think, Chris, that's the thing. It's the first year he had to kind of take who he could get. Now he was able to identify his problems. And it's kind of like with Billy Napier. It's almost like I can't remember who it was that said this first, but Billy Napier, it was year zero. And now I think for Todd Golden, it was year zero. He had to figure out whatever was going on, where he parked and everything, and now he's ready to go forward. So I think that has a big difference. You see a lot of coaches second year, it's a light day.
Well, remember he gets here last year, and guys are leaving. He's got to figure out if he has any players. He's got Koasi Reeves. He has C.J. Felder. I'm trying to think who just off the top. Obviously, he had to work to get Colin Castleton back. But then he has to go on the fly, and now it's like a politician. He has a record, or we know he has a record. It was 16-17, but he can show people this is what we want to do. And we went through it, and this is what we weren't good at. We need to get better, and you're going to help us get better in these particular areas.
By the way, the other night I saw this on either Twitter or Facebook, and it was a black and white movie, and it was Robert Shaw singing "Farewell and Adieu to You, Sweet Spanish Ladies" in a movie. I think it was called The Buccaneers, from the 50s, black and white, which is the same song he sang in one of your favorite movies, Jaws. Farewell and adieu to you, ladies of Spain.
For we've received orders for the sail back to Boston. So very well will you see us again.
Doesn't get any better.
Wow.
Doesn't get any better than that.
First of all, Robert Shaw, how young must he be in this?
Yeah.
A black and white movie in the 50s where he's a pirate?
It was like 56, I think was the year. I think I was 2. You weren't born yet.
I was not born
All
yet.
right, we got to play, after having you in on our Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line, now we have to play, or enjoy playing, Big Mills Cheesesteak Yes, No, Way, or Maybe. 3 questions. You have to answer them yes, no, way, or maybe. Brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. Street dining done the right way. Sponsors of the Bob Dooley. Did you get a sausage dog there on that hole?
Oh, God, yeah, they were good. Yeah. I never had a there was one of them I liked better than the other. There were two. They had 2 kinds there, I think.
They did.
One I like better than the other for sure. I'm already worried about this yes, no, and maybe. You're going to put me on the spot, aren't you?
No, not really that bad. No,
Okay.
not that bad. Okay. Number 1, yes, no, way, or maybe. Florida makes the NCAA tournament next year.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Low level of confidence there from you. Okay.
Sorry.
That's all you
Do I have to expand on it?
You don't have to, but you may choose to. Yeah.
It's not an overly confident yes, because like I said, I still got to see it. Like you got to see it, but I just think they have the talent to do it. So.
All right, number 2 on yes, no, way, or maybe. Chris Harry, you will leave eventually the D-Day headline in the Gainesville Sun alone.
No way. Is that what it is? Yes, no, no.
No way.
Come on, man. Come on. But people don't even understand what the hell you're talking about.
About how many years ago was it?
1990. It was the 50th anniversary of Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor.
Of D-Day.
Yeah.
It's the 50th anniversary, and the Gainesville Sun found some guy maybe up in Alachua who was on Normandy Beach.
No, I know who it was. Yeah.
No, they localized you all localized the story, right? Because you had somebody here in the county who was on Normandy Beach, right? So that's how the whole thing, You found somebody, but instead of was it Pearl Harbor?
It was Pearl Harbor Day.
It was Pearl Harbor Day. Somebody in the county had been in Hawaii and been in Pearl Harbor, and you found that guy. And the headline shows the USS Arizona getting bombed and everything, and the headline says D-Day revisited. It was a disaster.
And it was like 72.
December. It was on the 50th anniversary, December 7th, 1991, and it was D-Day revisited on the 50th
and it was
anniversary
like
of Pearl Harbor.
90-point type too. It was.
Absolutely.
It wasn't just like a little headline.
No, it was a big headline and a big embarrassment.
All right. Well, it wasn't my fault. I didn't write it.
Nope, you didn't.
I didn't write it. All right. Finally, number 3 on Yes, Nowhere. Maybe sometime this weekend I will get a ping text from you.
Maybe.
Chris likes when it gets to be like 23-19 in a baseball game, college baseball game. He just likes to text ping.
Wasn't there a game, an NCAA tournament game in the last 10 or 12 years that I think FSU may have been in, where there was 30-some runs scored?
I'm sure there was.
Right.
There's always so much.
It's like a WWGA softball game or something like that.
That's
back
right.
when they were the best. They were unbeatable, right?
Here's what's sad. I covered some WWGA softball games.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I played against them and just watched. I played against just June.
Softball was a big deal in Jacksonville in the 70s, believe me. It was huge, late 70s, early 80s. Huge deal.
What about me driving by your house that you grew up in?
Why did you do that?
We were driving. Robbie
that's borderline stalking.
No, I told Robbie, I go, how far did you grow up from here? He goes, a couple miles. I go, drive me by your house you lived in. Is it still there? He goes, yeah, it's still there. And we went by there. Went by yours.
It's great.
It was great, right?
52C Park.
Yep.
They should put a museum up in there, I think, personally.
They should.
I'll let you go, buddy. Thanks a lot for coming on.
All right, you take care. We'll see. And if any of this if any of these yes, no, maybes come to fruition, and if this Gator basket team gets its act together, I'm encouraged, but I'm like you. I want to see it.
Yep, thanks, absolutely. Pat. All right, thanks a lot. Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. Always great talking to him. Nobody knows Gator basketball like Chris Harry, believe me. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got a lot of things to get to, including Hesser and Kipke's 3 things, the Adams Root Co. Gator of the Week, Leonardo's Quick Picks. I got a good one for you. This, that, and the other. Ben Eige, Odell Realty, Games of the Weekend, and Pat Dooley Storytime. You're listening to or watching, another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Fight Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Dooley Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he has just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer to go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town.
Adam's Rib Co. to go. Come on down and enjoy it. Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. We appreciate all of our great sponsors and we love them so much. And we're going to continue to try to sell some more and try to, especially when we get to August. August is, and we appreciate all of our other sponsors because we know what it's like in June and July. But we'll keep trying to give you really good shows and we'll keep trying to get you really good guests. I think this summer, I think we're going to get Todd Golden on. I think we're going to get Billy Napier on. I think we're going to get other people on that you would love to see, and then get to football season. I mean, we got a lot of things we're going to do. So hopefully you guys will stay with us. And we know that numbers are really good so far. But I also know how things drop off this time of year. Like my Gators Wire numbers have dropped a little bit. And I'm like, well, it's because there's no games. They go, yeah. So make games happen. Well, I couldn't do that, but I did write a really cool thing for Gators Wire about my thoughts on the schedule, which I gave you a couple of them, but there's more of them. There's 12 of them. It's Dooley's dozen. There we go. All right, let's do the Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And, of course, as you know, our good friends at Hesser and Kipke are really good people. We love them for a lot of reasons. It's a Gainesville law firm, though, specializing in the area of workers' compensation and family law. Ken and Jennifer take great pride in their one-to-one focus on each and every client they represent. Ken is board certified in workers' compensation law by the Florida Bar, while Jennifer possesses extensive jury trial experience with a nearly 20-year background as a prosecutor. Don't believe me? Well, check out their more than 55 five-star Google reviews, or better yet, give them a call at 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. I guarantee there's more than 55 of those Google reviews now. We got to get that updated from Ken and Jennifer. I'm sure it's probably over 60 or 65 because they do a great job. Number one on Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. Interesting to see Brad Beal now in the trade block, I guess you would put it. He and the Wizards have come to an agreement. Look, if you can get a good deal, go ahead. I can go. It's like I'll never forget this moment in Phoenix. They're playing either Louisville or Marquette. They beat Marquette in the first game, lost to Louisville, blew a 10-point lead and out there. This is Sweet 16 and Elite 8, and Brad Beal just keep knocking down threes, and he was a good 3-point shooter, but he was all of a sudden became a great 3-point shooter in that game, and he was doing everything. And I just kept going cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. He is going to make a lot of money, which he has. He's made a ton. In fact, I one time did a big story about who's made the most as a former Florida athlete. Brad Beal's in that top 5. I would guarantee you. I would love to see him go somewhere where he could be more successful. I mean, they just haven't built a good franchise around him. They had him and John Wall, and it just didn't work. So I hope he goes somewhere. But then I go, just don't go to the Lakers. I don't like the Lakers. Don't go there. And there's a couple other places I don't want you to go. So if Brad, give me a call. You have my number, I'm sure. Give me a call. I'll tell you where you should go. Hopefully he ends up in the right place. Number 2, it is U.S. Open weekend. I haven't talked much about it because it's going on right now. The first round, by the time you're listening to this, probably the second round has been played. But it is my favorite weekend of the year. Even though I love the Masters, you guys all know how much I love the Masters, but the U.S. Open, especially when you get a prime time U.S. Open, that means you can turn the TV off and go to bed. And you're with all these thoughts and beautiful golf courses. The one thing that's interesting about it with the prime-time U.S. Open, usually I'm watching the U.S. Open or a major, and I go, I got to get out the golf course. I got to go play somewhere. I got to go hit balls. But it's dark for this one because it's prime time. But it should be great. I can't wait to see it. But it's also the best weekend. Just because my family understands me and they go, hey, you know what, Dad, whatever you want. So if I want them to go to no Paul and get ribs or whatever, bring them home. They do it. They appreciate U.S. Open weekend. Number 3 on the Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Speaking of the U.S. Open, and this is going to be a weird weekend for me because I'm going to be watching a lot of sports, and there's going to be a lot of negative rooting. There's obviously going to be very positive rooting for Florida. I'll be rooting for Rory McIlroy, who is my favorite golfer. I'll be rooting for some other Billy Horschel, people like that. But the negative rooting will be obviously towards all the live guys. I haven't let it go. I'm sorry. I thought maybe it was over, but then now I'm like, no, I'm still rooting against the live guys. But mainly it's because most of the live guys I don't like. I hate Patrick Reed. I can't stand it. I don't like DeChambeau. I don't like Kepka. These are all the guys that went over there. Dustin Johnson, I have no problem with, but he's just kind of a, I don't know, dead fish. I just don't, it's funny that all the guys that went to live are guys I didn't like already. So I'm rooting against them, and then I've got to turn around and root against several teams in the College World Series because it's not just Florida there. So that's going to be my weekend. A little positive rooting and a lot of negative rooting. That's our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's get to our Adams Ribco to Go Gator of the Week. And this one was a little bit of a surprise to me. John Dubois, who is, of course, a Florida golfer who won the SEC championship. And all these Gators have turned pro. 3 of them have already turned pro. Biondi Castillo is the way to pronounce that, and I can't remember the third one. But anyway, everybody thought he might go pro. He's coming back for a 5th year, so he is our Gator of the Week. I appreciate people who come back and want to give all, and look, he ain't getting a lot of money on scholarship, okay? I don't know what he's getting. He might be a 70% guy. Nobody's getting 100%. And he'll make it up with NIL stuff and everything, but he's not. If he doesn't think he's ready, great. I just love that he's coming back to play another year. So he is our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week. We'll have a Gator of the Weekend on Wednesday, and we look forward to that because every time I think about our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week, I get hungry for ribs. So I may do that. I may do that on the way home. All right, number. Let's get to the Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. This is a simple question that you may have to think about, though. How many teams from the SEC in Omaha survived the weekend? Now, when I say weekend, I'm saying Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's the full weekend because this weekend you play. So my bottom line is all you have to do to survive the weekend is win 1 game. How many of the 3 survive? So the answers are pretty simple, though. It's 1 or it's 0. It's 1, it's 2, and it's 3. If you guess 4, you're automatically disqualified. A lot of you picked Florida to beat Virginia. I tell you, like I said earlier, Virginia's a really good team. Whatever happens here, I won't know the answers. And we're about ready to make another poll, so that'll happen probably after I get back from vacation. That is our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. Thanks so much to Kyle Cohen over there, who does a great job. Let's get to the this, that, and the other, brought to you by Ballyhoo Grill. We love the people at Ballyhoo Grill, believe me. By Dark Shackle Insurance. Love me some John Dark. There's no question about that. And by Ironwood Golf Course. I can't talk too much about what's going on there, but I know that Thursday is or was a big meeting. We'll see what happens. But we love Ironwood Golf Course, believe me. All right, this is that ESPN put out a thing. They put out a story about ranking teams by decades, the best teams of each decade the other day. And it was literally, I think it was mostly statistical. It wasn't as so much what you might think. It was more a statistical thing by Bill Connolly. He's very good with stats. That was this. And of course, prior to 1990, there is no Florida team ranked in the top 10 in those. That's where Florida football was. That is that from 90 in the 1990s and the 2000s, Florida ended up being third in both. Now, if the 2000s are 2000 through 2010 and Florida was third, that's an idiot poll, okay? It's an idiot statistical anomaly. Florida in 2001 was the best team in the country. And, I mean, I lost 2 games by a few points. 06 and 08, they won national championships. I know there were some bad things that happened during that era, but come on, man. They got to be. But anyway, the point being, they were in the top 3 in the 1990s and the 2000s. And then the other is, everything after that, they're not ranked. No surprise there. I don't care any stats you want to put together. You're not going to find them that get Florida in the top 10 after 2010. So that's the sad part of it. But that is this, that, and the other. And you guys are probably going, yeah, these are things we know. Florida sucked. It was a really fun school to be at, and everybody loved it, and everybody was fans and everything, and we have heroes. But then Spurrier came, and then Urban came, and it was great, and then it sucked again. That basically, that's what you're telling us? No big surprise there. Okay, I'm not going to do any of that anymore. All right. Let's get to our Ben I Odell Realty games of the weekend. You've got to have 2 TVs this weekend. If you don't, I feel your pain, but you need 2 TVs. If you're me, I will have 2 TVs. You got to be watching golf and baseball, college baseball, golf and college baseball, golf and college baseball. The golf will be on the USA Network 1 to 8 every day, and then they switch over to NBC from 8 to 11, at least on Friday. I think NBC actually comes on a little earlier, but it'll be USA and NBC, and you're going to have golf. I watched golf this morning, Thursday morning. I watched golf for like an hour and a half. It was great. I love prime time majors. So you've got that going for you. And then, of course, baseball, 7 o'clock, Gators play Friday night. And then we obviously don't know when they're going to play on Sunday. It will depend on whether they win or lose. It'll be at 2 or 7. But every game is scheduled. I've been there. Nothing goes off as scheduled at 2 and 7. So know that. They'll all be on ESPN. They're all from either at 2 or 7. But it's the summer, man. We know what happens in the summer. There's rain. There are extra inning games. But they schedule them wide enough apart that extra inning games or something like that won't be a factor. It'll be more about weather. So that is her Ben I Odell Realty games of the weekend. If you want to watch Major League Baseball too, that's fine. But you better have a third TV. Or maybe like, say, somebody's beating somebody by a lot. And by the way, Tennessee LSU is a 7 o'clock game on Saturday. Stanford Wake is the 2 o'clock game on Saturday. And then, again, we don't know who's going to be playing on Sunday because we got to wait and see who wins and loses. All right. Yeah, so everything's 2 and 7. All right, let's get to Pat Dooley story time before we cut out of here. And we appreciate Chris Harry again for being on. Appreciate Zach for doing a great job of producing. Pat Dooley story time, I think I'm right on the year. It was 2011 in Omaha when Florida got to the finals against South Carolina. And I've told this story before. I stayed at 3 different hotels because I was trying to move to the best one. I was in just the worst hotel you could imagine. This is not an exaggeration. The hotel was like a Comfort Inn or something, but I don't want to blaspheme Comfort Inn. It might not have been a Comfort Inn. It might have been lower than a Comfort Inn. And if you looked out your back window, there was a prison right there. I mean, there were barbed wire right out your window. So there's a prison, and then there's the Office of Homeland Security here, and then there's a halfway house you walk around the corner. It was beautiful. I survived that. Then I went to a Residence Inn way away from downtown Omaha. Finally, I got to the Courtyard downtown, and it was great. Let me tell you what, downtown Omaha is a great place. And I just remember this story because I say, I'm walking from the Courtyard, which is not far away from the stadium. I said, I'm just walk down here to do an interview it was a pregame, Florida, South Carolina. This was going to be everything I wrote for the pregame. And as I'm walking down there, I go, oh, it's my anniversary. I've been I got to call my wife. It's my anniversary. I can't believe, sorry, I missed Father's Day, but now it's my anniversary. So I call her. It's like 10 in the morning. Press conference is at 11. I said, Karen, I love you so much. I'm so glad to be married to you. I just want you to know I'm so sad. I'm so apologetic that I am stuck far away from you on our wedding anniversary. She goes, nah, the Gators are winning. Just stay out there. I said, now I know where I am on the pecking order. Gators, Pat Dooley. I was with her on that, though, to be honest with you. And unfortunately, he didn't win it all. If they'd won it all, I might never have come back. Anyway, that's my Karen, who I love so much, and she's still, love her more today than I ever have. All right, that's going to do it for another Dooley Noted podcast. Again, thanks so much to Zach for doing a great job. Thanks to Chris Harry for coming on. Tuesday, Coach Spurrier will join us, and we'll be back then. Until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep way back, and I am out of here.